Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Welcome back. Today is, well, it's a May TBR already. Can you believe it? Yeah, April's almost over. So let's jump into what I'm going to try to read in May. It's another big, busy month. I got a lot of books that we'll see what I get to. Y'all know how I do TBRs. I pick a lot of books and then I just kind of get to what I get to, with some priorities, but you know how it is. And also this month in May is Horror MAYhem, a really fun event that's hosted by the Bookish Bryants along with a whole other group of folks, and it sounds like a lot of fun. So I've got some books picked out for that, and yeah, it's just gonna be a fun month, getting into spring. Weather's warming up finally, so May's a good month. So let's dive in, because y'all know I got a list. Okay, so for my little book club, I always mention I have a little book club I have with some friends of mine. And so for May, we are going to be, I had a theme of books that have food as a feature, or have, a food name in the title or something like that. And so we voted on Garden Spells by Sarah Addison Allen. I've read a few of her books, and they're just really kind of delightful stories with some magical realism. And I expect nothing different from this. She is a North Carolina author, so I just enjoy reading her. They're very light, fun books, and I think it'll be a really good pick for a book club. So looking forward to digging into that one. And then I'm finally gonna be reading Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is the book pick for the Shades of Orange book club. Rachel over at the Shades of Orange has a Patreon book club. This is the pick, so I'm finally gonna read it, and I'm excited to finally get to this too. I don't even want to know what it's about. I just finally want to read it and see what all the hullabaloo's out for myself. So for Brad Proctor's his Spinebreakers book club, we are going to get into I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. I have not read this one yet either, so yeah, I'm excited. I have this crappy movie cover, but I've got this book for free, so I'm not going to complain too much. But yeah, I'm just definitely excited to finally get into this one too. I'm reading Hell House right now by him, and I have read Stir of Echoes by him also, and which I really liked Stir of Echoes. Hell House is, I haven't finished yet, so I'm not going to say anything yet, but this one I've definitely heard is awesome sauce, so yeah, I'm really excited for that. I'll leave Brad's channel below if you want to join in his Discord for that book. I'll leave his link to his channel below. Of course, we're continuing on with our VC Andrews read along, and we're going to finish out the Dollenganger series with Garden of Shadows. And this one, I believe, is a prequel to everything. I think we're following the grandmother from the Flowers in the Attic series. I was going to look it up, but then I forgot to do it before I started. But okay, I'm interested because she's crazy. So definitely going to try to dig that, the audiobook. I've been listening to these audiobooks on YouTube. There's a lady on YouTube that has put these up, and she does, and they're great. So okay, so Ollie over at Criminale, he has started a new kind of club thing with his birth year books that he, got this list from doing his birth year book tag. And so the pick for May is going to be The Hillbound Heart by Clyde Barker. I have read this book, but I've just put it down on my list just in case I have time for a reread. This one I do have on my Kindle. But just in case I've got some time to reread it, I've got it on my list. But it's great. Hillbound Barker, it's great. And we're going to be finishing out the Lotlands series that I've been reading with Steve over at Steve Talks Books and some other folks. And I think in May we're going to be chatting with Jonathan French about the series that we've been reading so far. So The Free Bastards is book 3 and the conclusion to the series. So I'm really excited to see how this all wraps up. It'll be fun. I'll link Steve's channel below. Also, of course, the From Hell book club pick. This is my friend Kelly over at Kelly Hooked on Books. Linked below, of course. She runs a book club where she picks out old school horror books for us to read. We're diving into Chain Letter, baby. Ruby Jean Jensen. I'm so excited. I picked up a copy. I just wanted a physical copy of it. It's not a terrible cover, I don't think. It's not like cool like the old school one, but chain letters. If you break the chain, you die. So I think it sounds like a lot of fun. Sometimes you just need a fun one, I try to do a reread every month. I'm not going to stress this one too much this month, though. I don't really know that I'll have time for it, but if I find time for it, I'm hoping to reread Interview with a Vampire. If not this month, I'll get to it at some point later, but just to kind of stay on track with my rereads that I wanted to do for the year. I hadn't read this in a million years, so I really want to get back into the series, I think, and give everything a reread and then read part of the Vampire Chronicles that I hadn't read. So you gotta start at the beginning, right? Maybe I could squeeze in like the audiobook or something. We'll see. But again, I'm not stressing that one too much, but I just have it on my list just in case. So for my short story reads, though, I think I'm gonna go with Mouthful of Birds by Samantha Schwedlin. This is a collection of how many stories? Let's see. I hate when they don't number them. I wish they would number short stories. Am I the only one? There's 20 stories in here, but this isn't crazy long, so they don't seem like too long. This will be the final Samantha Schwedlin book that I've got on my shelves. And maybe of hers in total. I don't know. Does she have anything else I haven't read? I think I read everything except for this by her. So yeah, gonna dive into that. And because it's Horror Mayhem, I'm also going to try to dig into No Anesthetic, which is a collection of extreme horror stories. And I just want to kind of check this out. I got this out from Nicholas over from Spooky Noodles. He put this together. He started up Splatter Inc. Publishing and got this extreme horror anthology together. Put this out last year, I think it was. And I won this in a giveaway, so he sent this over. But it's got stories from like Ronald Kelly. I know I have a story in here. Eric Butler, Brian Rosenberger, and John Bowden, Damascus Mintzmeyer, all kinds of folks. So I think there's like 10 stories in here. So extreme horror. I can be willy-nilly about extreme horror, but I'm gonna give it a go. And let's see, I'm now realizing I didn't have a poetry collection picked out for the month, but I think I'll dive into that horror poetry anthology that I picked up recently. I'll put a picture here. I not even remember the name of it because it's horror poetry, and it is Horror Mayhem after all, so I'll dig into some of that poetry. Okay, so again, this is an if I have time kind of thing, but the Ladies of Horror Fiction book pick for May is Sundial by Catriona Ward. I've heard everybody's been reading this and saying it's pretty good, so if I have time, but again, not one I'm going to stress, but just if I have time. My 12 for 12 challenge that I've been doing, where 12 friends recommended me 12 different books to read over the year. I think I'm going to try to get into LMNOP this month by Mark Dunn. I can get the ebook from my library, so I think it's kind of short too, and it's something a little different. Mix things up a little bit for the month. The Stephen King book for May. We're doing the Stephen King read along, Kelly Hooked on Books, and we chat about over on Brad Proctor's Discord about the King books. May is The Green Mile. Very excited for that. I just watched that movie last night. It's so good. I've seen it a million times, but I've actually never read the book for Green Mile, so I'm really excited to dig into that. I think it's going to be great. And then Brad and I also have planned our buddy read of The Rising Storm. We've been buddy reading this new High Republic Star Wars series together, so we've got this penciled in for May. This kind of picks up, I think, kind of right after where the Light of the Jedi dropped off. So this one has a cool kind of poster insert Kind of cool. Look at that. Cool. Cool. I picked this up, when Barnes & Noble had that half off everything or whatever sale they were doing. I picked this up. So that's that. Okay, so now let's get into Horror Mayhem. Because, yeah, I have a whole other set of books for that. So I picked a bunch of short stuff. So we'll see. Now, of course, I'm going to kind of count this as part of Horror Mayhem, just in general. Even I don't know that it necessarily fits any of the prompts, but I'm just gonna count that. So as the Bookish Brides do, they kind of put their readathons into like weeks, themed weeks. So week 1 they have deemed supernatural, or supernatural creatures, that kind of thing. And so I am gonna get into. I've picked 2 out. Again, I'm gonna just get to what I get to. But I've got Palmetto by Anya Albarn, which I think is kind of like a haunted house type of story. I think, from what I can gather from the back. Family trying to move into a house. They're like, don't buy the house. Don't move. She just has this like feeling like, shouldn't go into the house. Couldn't go into the house. So I'm thinking, I don't know if there's bugs involved. I'm not sure, but we're going with it. I also have Skin Food by Type A. This, I think, is more of a creature kind of book. These kids are like college kids, or they're in like a college reunion, but they're in Seoul, South Korea. And so the morning, like the next day after they like partied and stuff, Gangshi rise from the dead and take to the streets of Seoul. That sounds supernatural to me. So I've got those 2 picked out for that. Okay, week 2, I've got Gothic horror, and I've got, let me find it here in my little stack. I've got Robert M. Coates' Wisteria Cottage. This is a reprint of this story that was released, I think it was in 1948. I think it's, spooky house, and then, or, Wisteria Cottage. I think it's like a mother and her daughters go to this cottage to maybe spend the summer or something like that. And I think there's this weird dude that like kind of becomes infatuated with them. It sounds Gothic-ish. I don't know. We'll see. I thought about adding this into Melmoth by Sarah Perry, but I don't know that I'll have time for it. But this again is just kind of a silent woman in black kind of thing, And it's just over the 250 page limit, but I don't know that I'll have time for that. And maybe I'll squeeze in some Poe for Gothic Week. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I have time for, but I'd at least like to get to Wisteria Cottage, I think. Okay, so that's week 2, Gothic horror, and week 3 is cosmic horror. And I'm basically just going to finally read some Lovecraft. I've not read any Lovecraft. And it seems like if you're a horror person, like you have to at least read it, right? So, just going to dig in. I've got this little book that I picked up on sale somewhere. It's got, I think, basically, his classics, Dagon, The Call of Cthulhu, The Dunwich Horror, Whisper in the Darkness, and The Haunter of the Dark. So if I just read one of those, I'll count it for Cosmic Horror Week. It'll be fun. And then week 4 is folk horror. I've got a couple things picked out for folk horror, one of which is The Forest by Lisa Quigley. So this one sounds cool. So everyone in Edgewood believes that their annual tithes at the fall festival are what purchase Edgewood's safety. But as Faye and her husband prepare to take over as town stewards, a long tradition carried out by her family for generations, they learn the terrible truth. In order to guarantee the town's safety, the forest demands an unthinkable sacrifice. In the midst of everything, Faye is secretly battling debilitating postpartum anxiety that makes her all the more terrified to leave the safe cocoon of her enchanted town. Everyone turns against her, including her husband. She's forced to flee with her infant son into the forest. She must face whatever lurks there. And perhaps most frightening of all, the dark torments of her own mind. Yeah, that sounds really good. Anything kind of like spooky forest, like, I'm there. That sounds great. And then I've also picked out The Lamb Will Slaughter the Lion by Margaret Killjoy. This one's really short. Let's see. Searching for clues about her best friend's mysterious suicide, Danielle ventures to the utopian squatter town of Freedom, Iowa, and witnesses a protector spirit in the form of a blood-red, 3-antlered deer begin to turn on its summoners. She and her new friends have to act fast if they're going to save the town or get out alive. That sounds pretty good. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm super excited for everything. Horror Mayhem's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone's going to be reading for that. I love reading books. I love reading books, and I love talking about books. I love joining things and book clubs and read-alongs, and I just do. I enjoy it so much. It just makes me happy. And I've mentioned before in another video that I'm just kind of not denying the little pleasures, for myself right now. Things have just been hard these past, few years, and do what makes you happy, you know what I mean? So that's gonna do it for me. Let me know what you're planning for Horror Mayhem, if you're taking part, or if you've read any of these, let me know. Or did you like them? Because I want to know. And thanks so much for watching, as always, of course. I'm always so appreciative of your time. I can't thank you enough, really. I just enjoy this so much, and yeah, so thanks so much, and until next time, my friends, bye.